Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. It has been said that all is well that ends well, but who defines what is good? A good example. I find out that my wife is unfaithful, throw her out and get rid of her. Everything ended well for me, right? Then why am I so unhappy? It started 6 months ago when I married my secretary. The day she came to the interview and walked into my office, my brain shot right into the head of my male organ, and he said, "You've been hired," even before we said hello to each other. A tall woman, 175 centimeters, and a body to die for, 915686 as I learned later. She had the face of an angel and long blonde hair that fell to the middle of her back. When she sat down in front of me and crossed her incredibly long legs, I had only one question that I wanted to ask. When can you start? I also asked other questions, such as how many words per minute she could type, how she was doing with shorthand, and how familiar she was with the computer programs I mentioned. To this day, I don't even remember her answers to those questions, but they didn't matter because I wasn't going to let her go, even if she couldn't do any of it. Fortunately, she turned out to be an excellent typist, could write from dictation, and was well versed in the computer. 9 months later, we got married, and 6 months later, I started seeing and hearing things that made me believe that Hillary wasn't that faithful to me. At first, it was something I didn't hear. The guys stood around and talked, but fell silent when I approached, or they saw me approaching, and the group quickly dispersed. One day, I entered the men's room and caught the end of a conversation that stopped immediately when I entered. I only heard 3 words, "That's Hillary's fool," before Ron and Bert saw me, zipped up and left. I started watching Hillary, but I didn't see anything unusual and chalked it up to my imagination. It was only when I connected to the conference room that I actually heard something definite. I had several subgroups working on various projects, and they used the conference room for team meetings. I was tired of them coming to my office to force me to come to the conference room just to answer some idiotic question, so I decided to just install an intercom system. If they needed my information, they could just call me and I could answer their questions from the comfort of my office. I installed the system and then did some checks to make sure it was working properly. The last check was from the room to my office and it was working fine, but I forgot to turn it off when I left the room. I was sitting in my office sorting through some papers when Steve, Mike, Al, and Joe entered the conference room. Mike asked where Bob was and Joe laughed. "Where do you think he is now? He's trying to prepare Hillary for Chuck's departure from town tomorrow." There was no mistaking who they were talking about. I was the only Chuck working there. I actually owned the company, and I was the only one who had a wife there named Hillary, and the next day I was leaving town on a 2-day business trip. "Why aren't you trying?" Mike asked Joe. I tried, but she said she wanted to try something new. A few laughs, and then Al said, "That means I won't get anything for a while." "I wonder if Chuck gets anything," Mike said, and Al laughed again and asked, "When is she going to fit him into her schedule?" And they all laughed. Just then, Bob came into the room and asked what was so funny. "We were just wondering if Chuck would ever get to sleep with his wife." "I do not know about Chuck, but I know exactly who is going to bury a bone in it tomorrow." "You're your own dog," Al said. "Get ready for some kind of perversion," Steve interjected. "I know for sure that this is not the case. Hillary tells everyone she makes love to make damn sure they never do anything that might get Chuck's attention. She says that if she even smells it, which he might suspect, then each of us will be cut off forever. You're going to hear a speech tomorrow before she unzips your fly, and she's going to say it seriously. So know this, if you screw up in front of all of us, we will hunt you down and cut off your organ. Right, guys?" What followed was that they all said yes, or put your ass on the line. Then Mike said, "Okay, guys, let's get down to business. What are we going to do with—" And at that moment, I turned off the intercom, took the tape out of the system recorder, and put it in my briefcase. One of the things I don't have is stupidity. I didn't sit and moan, "Oh, it can't be. She loves me. I just know she loves me." Denial is not part of my character. One guy, and it might just be wishful thinking, but when 5 guys talk about what they've already done, you don't wring your hands and say that there must have been some mistake. What hurt me the most was that those same 5 guys were supposed to be my good friends. We went fishing together, went to Vegas for the weekend together, and played poker at my house every other Friday. Some fucking friends. Then there was Hillary. What happened there? How did the blush come off the rose so quickly? Could it be that she married me just for my money? Marry the owner of the company and be provided for life? I didn't know and didn't want to sort things out. I would have made sure it was true, and then she wouldn't have realized what hit her. The next evening, I called home from San Francisco at my usual time, and when Hillary answered the phone, she sounded a little out of breath. I wasn't paying close attention to what she was saying because I was straining to figure out if I was hearing background noise. I thought I heard heavy breathing, and I know I heard a squelching sound. Hillary and I chatted about nothing for a couple of minutes, and each of us told the other that we loved each other, and then hung up. I hoped Bob was enjoying life. It would be a shame to go through what was supposed to happen to him and not get anything out of it. When I got home, Hillary was waiting for me, dressed in my favorite outfit, a pair of pumps and nothing else. She asked me if I wanted something to drink or if I should just get into bed as soon as possible. Hillary was fantastic and I was going to miss her, but I was a realist and I knew I shouldn't start missing her until she was really gone. So I threw my briefcase on the floor and started undressing. It's been a long night. When I left for work the next morning, I thought again about how much I would miss her. The upcoming Friday was a regular evening for our poker game. The reason why the game was held at my house was simple, so that I would not have any problems returning home. I can't stand alcohol. I like to drink, and I like to drink. I have a good time when I get drunk to the point where I pass out. When that happens, I will die to the whole world, and nothing will be able to wake me up. It has always been so. We would meet at my house, play poker until I passed out, and then my friends would pick me up, put me on the couch, finish the hand, and leave. At poker nights, Hillary, saying that she hated being surrounded by a group of loud men, left and went shopping or to the cinema. Until a week ago, I had no reason to doubt that what she was talking about was what she was actually doing, but now I wondered if she was doing any of it. It went without saying to me that if she got such pleasure from being satisfied by talking to me on the phone, then she would get even more pleasure from it while I was right there in the room. On Thursday, while Hillary was at the hairdresser's afternoon appointment, I went home, installed 2 remote-controlled video cameras, and put the remote controls under the seat cushions on the couch, and then returned to work. On Friday at 7 o'clock, the guys started arriving, and by 7:15 we were all sitting at the table ready to play. Hillary came into the room, kissed me, and said she would see me when I woke up in the morning, and then left to go to the cinema. "It's going to be a great night, guys," I said. "I feel it in my gut." I broke the seal on the new deck of cards and we made bets. I pulled out the ace of spades. "Good omen, guys. Take out your wallets and get ready to contribute. The house rules are the same as always. 3 raises, no checks or raises, a $5 limit, and dealer selection." I announced a draw of 5 cards, jacks or better, to open the account, and dealt the cards. I took my cards, looked at them, and couldn't help but smile. I had 3 jacks and 2 unnecessary cards. Al on my left was the first player to place a bet, and he made a pass. Mike passed, and Steve opened a dollar account. Joe raised $1, and Bob discarded the cards. I smiled and said, "Yes, indeed, men, this is my lucky night," and collected $5. Al threw up his hands, and everyone else in the room congratulated him. Mike took 1 card, so I figured he was trying to get a flush or a straight. Steve took 3, so I knew he had an older pair. It had to be opened with jacks or better, and I had 3 jacks, so he had to have queens, kings, or aces. Joe took 2, which made him difficult to read. He might have had a 3 of a kind, but it was known that he held the top pair with an ace and then bluffed until the storm. I took 2, and when I looked, I saw that I had thrown 2 unnecessary cards just to make room for 2 more unnecessary cards. Mike made a check, Steve put down $1, and Joe made a call that told me he hadn't received any help for his older couple. I raised $5, Mike and Steve folded, and Joe called. I showed my 3 jacks, and Joe threw up his hand with the words, "Damn." I collected the pot and snorted, "My night, partners, no need to play, just give me your money." My usual drink was vodka with tonic and a slice of lime, and it seemed that I was drinking exactly that, but there was only water in my glass. I gulped down my water, and when the glass was almost empty, I got up and asked the guys if they were ready to pour more, and then went and filled my glass with water and returned their drinks to them. I won 1 pot out of every 4 and was a real fun Charlie when I drank my water and acted like I was drugged. 3 hours have passed since the start of the game, and in the middle of a losing hand, I performed my usual procedure of losing consciousness. Al stood up and shook me, and I pretended to be dead. "He's ready," Al said. "Help me get him to the couch." Steve came over to help him while Mike took out his cell phone and called. "He's ready," he said to the person on the other end of the line. "Okay, baby. I'll see you in 10 minutes. "She's on her way," he told the group. "Let's finish the distribution. Maybe I'll even make it 2 more before she gets here." Bob, who was playing with the band for the first time, asked what they were going to do with me. "Nothing," Al said. "He's what makes this thing work for us." "I don't understand." "Just wait, young Bob, and you'll be amazed." 10 minutes later, Hillary walked through the front door, and when it closed behind her, I reached under the pillows for the remote control that controlled the camera mounted so as to cover the room. Hillary took one look at me and said, "Damn it, guys, why do we have to go through this every time? You know you have to put him on the couch so that he looks like he's watching." Steve and Bob came over and moved me so that it looked like I was sitting there watching what was happening. While I was being placed, Hillary undressed and said, "Open your cards to see who goes first." Al took off the high card and Hillary asked him, "What do you want, my love?" "I want you in dog style." Hillary walked around the table and through narrowed eyes I could see her leaning forward over the table to look at me while Al satisfied her from behind. When he pushed into her, she moaned, "Oh yes, darling, stick Chuck's wife in. Take it deep, lover boy. Chuck's easygoing girlfriend wants every fucking inch of your hard male organ in Chuck's wife while he's just sitting there. Take me, my love. Take me hard in front of Chuck." This went on for several minutes and then Al exhaled. Then it started to repeat itself as they all took turns using it. "Do you like it, Chuck? Do you like to sit there while all your buddies crowd your wife? They're going to fill me to the brim, Chuck." Once they all fucked her, she told them to move me to a chair in the bedroom, and when they came for me, I pressed a button on the remote control of the camera in the bedroom. They carried me into the bedroom, sat me down in an armchair, and positioned it so that it seemed that I was watching again. And then it became disgusting. For the next 2 hours, all 5 of them were in Hillary in various combinations. And throughout this, Hillary maintained a monologue. By the end of the second hour, I had more than enough. And then, as a gift from the gods, Hillary said, "God, but I really want you to see this Chuck. I couldn't give it up." I stood up and said, "I'm not Hillary's God, but I can fulfill your wish." Hillary's face turned ashen gray, and I didn't even bother to look at my so-called friends. I said to the whole room, "You all just keep having fun." I go into the office and start filing paperwork for the dismissal of 5 who will soon become former employees, and 1 who will soon become an ex-wife, and I left the room. After about 5 minutes, I started hearing the front door open and close. 20 minutes later, Hillary entered the office, dressed in an old terry cloth robe. She sat on the leather sofa and watched me work on the computer. I ignored her, and after about 5 minutes, she said, "You're not really going to divorce me, are you?" "Of course I'm going to. It would be much cheaper if you didn't do it. If you divorce me, I'll have to hire a lawyer and I'll end up exposing you. No divorce, no lawyer, so it won't cost you anything. Why do you want to stay?" "Because I love you." "Yes, that's right. It became quite obvious to me tonight. You just didn't understand what you saw." "What's not to understand? You spent 4 hours making love to 5 of my so-called friends, and all the while you humiliated and ridiculed me." "So what?" "What do you mean, so what?" "I didn't mean a single word of it, and you should know that. By now you must have realized that this wasn't the first time. Watching any of your other poker games, have you noticed any coldness, lack of affection?" "No, you didn't, but I'm really trying to cheat on you every chance I get. I love you, Chuck, but I need more love in bed than 2 or 3 men can provide. I've found that talking in the way I talked tonight excites men, and they last longer. When you're out of town, I always have 1 or 2 men to keep me busy, and they usually take care of me when I'm on the phone with you. But it's not disrespectful to you, Chuck. It's just something that turns them on and makes them stay faster and longer. That's it, Chuck. I love you, and I don't give a damn about all of them." "It doesn't change anything, Hillary. I'm old-fashioned about some things, and one of them is that my wife belongs to me, and as soon as she stops being mine, she's gone. Don't do this, baby. I'm not leaving quietly. Guys like everything about me, and even if you don't let them, they'll still want it, and I can get them to support me in court. There will be 6 of us against 1, and we will all swear that you were drunk and you imagined it all. Let it be, baby. Just let it be, and let me work on you. I will prove to you that I love you." "Do you love me, but are you ready to go to court, perjure yourself, and try to make me look like a hysterical fool? It doesn't add up to Hillary. It's the only leverage I have to try to get you to give up on this divorce thing. I don't want to do this, Chuck, but if I go far enough and put in enough effort, I hope I can get you to back off. I'm sorry, Hillary, but as far as I understand, you're a spoiled commodity. Okay, baby, but don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, Hillary, you warned me. Just leave the house by the end of the day. While she was in the shower, I took out the cameras, took them to the office, and turned them on. I had everything recorded on tape and clearly enough to identify all the players. I slept in the guest room, and at 6 in the morning I left the house for my usual Saturday morning golf date. I played 18 holes, and when I got home, Hillary had already left. Hillary left, and I sat down and made a list of what I needed to do first thing on Monday morning. I spent the rest of the weekend looking around the house and packing up everything that belonged to Hillary that I could find, and moved it to the garage. I made 3 copies of the videos I had of the aftermath of the poker game and locked all the tapes in a safe in my den. On Monday morning, I fired Bob, Joe, Al, Mike, and Steve and started hiring their replacements. On the same day, I called the company's lawyer and asked him to recommend a good divorce lawyer, and 2 days later I met with him. I told him the story, handed him the 2 original tapes, and told him that I wanted their existence to be kept secret for as long as possible. I told him that Hillary had told me about how she would get all my former friends together and make them lie in court. I wanted the bastards to do it and then show them the tape so I could see them arrested on charges of perjury. Hillary did what she promised to do. She tried her best. Acting on the theory that divorce is impossible if the documents are not served, she disappeared. 6 months passed, and then she called me on the phone. Have you come to your senses yet? Did you miss me? Have you finally realized that I love you and don't want a divorce? Come on, honey. We can talk it over and put it all together. I know we can do it. I was on the verge of hanging up when I had a brainstorm. You're right. I really miss you, but I don't understand how we can be together again after what you've done. That's why we need to talk, honey. Okay, Hillary, when and where? Can't I just go home? I don't know anything about it. Please, honey. Well, I don't think it would hurt to try. When? Tonight? The sooner the better. Okay, then tonight, but I'm not promising anything. I was watching from the window when Hillary pulled into the driveway and got out of her car. I watched as a man got out of a car parked across the street, intercepted Hillary in the driveway, and handed her the divorce papers. After he left, she went up the path to the front porch, and I met her at the door. She waved the papers in front of me. It did its job. So you're not going to talk to me? There is nothing to say that has not already been said. Does it matter to you that I love you and don't want to divorce you? No, you said it yourself the night I caught you. You said you needed more lovemaking than 2 or 3 men could give you, and I wouldn't stay married to such a simpleton. Do I miss you? Hell yes, but that doesn't change the fact that you cheated on me wholesale and with a bunch of jerks who were supposed to be my friends. I will never trust you again, and I can't live with someone I can't trust. If you don't get the divorce papers, Chuck, I'm going to ruin you. I don't want this, but I will do everything I have to stop this divorce. I'm only going to say this once, Hillary. Go to court with these assholes and lie, and I'll destroy every one of you. So far, all that a stab in the back has cost them is their job. If they come with you and lie, I'll make you all pay. Hillary started to say something else, but I closed the door in front of her. Hillary hired a lawyer, and the dancing began. Her lawyer demanded, and my lawyer objected, and it went on for a while. Neither side gave in an inch, and eventually the case went to trial. I told my version, and then Hillary and the 5 jerks stood up and told the story that she said they would tell. The judge said it sounded like a words against words situation, only she had a backup version, and I didn't. At that moment, my lawyer said that we had all the necessary documentation, and he presented the tapes and several fingerprints that had been taken from the tapes and audio recordings from the conference room. The judge dragged both lawyers, Hillary and me, into his office and started kicking our asses for not clearing all the trash out of the way before coming to his court. You had records, and you could have revealed that you have them. You wouldn't have to stage this farce in my courtroom. At that moment, I interrupted the judge and told him that I had not allowed my lawyer to disclose the information. I wanted everyone to see what a lying scum Hillary and 5 of my former friends were, and the only way to do that was to take them to court and let them lie to God and everyone else, and then prove that they were liars. The judge called a break. I left the courtroom and made a phone call. That day, the courier service delivered copies of everything I had to the wives of 5 jerks, as well as Hillary's mother, father, sisters, brother, and 2 of her living grandparents. That was 3 months ago, and the divorce is final. Hillary got out of the marriage, keeping only what she brought with her, her maiden name. Steve was somehow able to save his marriage, but the other 4 are in divorce court, and they won't do anywhere near as well as I do. I haven't heard a word from Hillary since she called me the day after our court appearance, and called me every nasty word she could think of. How could you stoop so low as to send this to my family? I warned you that if you lie in court, I will destroy you. You should have known me well enough to know that I would carry out my threat. You lied, and I made sure you paid for that lie, and I hung up. I got rid of her and probably should be glad. But why do I think about her all the time, and why do I feel so unhappy?